Shortcomings in AML and Social Responsibility Procedures. Moderated by Stefan Antonic, Deloitte Legal.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stefan Antonic. I'm an attorney at law heading Deloitte Legal in Serbia. I will be moderating this panel today. We're talking, of course, about AML and social responsibility procedures. We will basically have two sets of questions for each panelist. And I will now kindly ask my panelists just to briefly introduce themselves. Maybe we can actually start with George, then Jan and Renel. George, just briefly to tell something about yourself, just to present yourself to the audience.
Еще раз здравствуйте. Я глава администрации горного бизнеса Грузии и работаю с законодательством уже более 11 лет и фактически знаю все аспекты не только грузинского законодательства, но и ближайшего региона.
Hello, my name is Jan Kretschmer. I'm Senior Manager Public Policies, Lotto 24, a large German lottery broker. Been in the industry now for over 10 years in various roles in compliance, AML and fraud.
Hi, my name is Renel Dobre. I'm Country Manager for CEE and OKTO payment provider. Thank you.
So basically we have a very interesting panel consisting of government, service provider and basically operator. So I'll start with the first question for Jan as operator. Jan, would you care to comment on how you see increasing regulatory pressure of the two operators in order to do their homework regarding AML and social responsibility?
I mean, we've seen increasing pressure from regulators who started really enforcing AML and social responsibility legislation. I mean, as most of you already know, we've just seen the largest fine in the UK ever issued to an operator of £17 million, which is quite a sum of money. So regulators now, especially in the more mature legislations and legislations, are really enforcing AML, and it's us now for the operators to really do our homework and be there, because it will impact the bottom line in the end. So if operators need to pay large fines, it's not good for their reputation, it's not good for the industry, because obviously we are not doing the homework. And this is actually becoming more and more evident for us as an operator to make our homework.
Thanks. So I'll just briefly go to the next question. Renel, this one is for you. Since you're basically a payment provider and I think that your, let's say, digitalization background is really interesting, can you comment on how digitalization affects AML? What has changed in the last 3 years, for better or for worse?
Yeah, indeed. Digitalization was accelerated by the pandemic, everybody knows. We face a challenge through regulator, also operator, so we need in this way to implement all the AML. So when we say AML, we speak about KYC. So we have to make it in a way that our customer, not to feel that he's punished, but to make it in a way that it's very easy. So that's why the component of artificial intelligence, when you take a selfie and it can detect its gender, if it's female or male, it is the same with the ID. So let's say that the easiest way is to take a selfie of yourself and to make a picture of your ID, and then you prove, and then you are compliant with the level 1 of KYC. So yes, digitalization, it brings, how should I say, much more closer to the client in an easiest way.
So, I mean, in terms of progress, do you see that, I mean, solution like yours, did it bring did it complicated the process, or did it make more simpler? And not only the solution, but actually the pressure of the governments and in the all jurisdictions over the world, and we know what this industry is facing. Do you have any kind of comment? How do you see that?
Yeah, we are operating in several countries, and because we are a holder of a EMI license, so we have to comply with the local regulator. For example, in Spain, just an example, you have to sign agreement with every region of the Spain, which means there are 40 regions, so you have 40 agreements, special one, just to operate in one country. So when it's about to be compliant, I would like to say that our service, it's a champion of compliance. And of course, we are working together with our operator, which is our B2B clients, understanding their B2C clients, and following the regulator requirements very closely in every country.
Okay, thank you. George, this question is actually for you. So, what do you think about AML challenges that might industry face in the future? And I'm especially interested, what can be said on the example of Georgia.
Исходя из того, что на сегодняшний день давление увеличилось и требования увеличились к операторам, чтобы они хорошо определяли свой KYC и AML. И это, с одной стороны, я могу сказать, что это очень правильно, потому что защита клиентов и социальная ответственность никто не отменял. И каждый оператор, несмотря на то, что многие пользователи, мы очень хорошо знаем, что они не соблюдают элементарные правила соблюдения защиты информации, ответственность никто не отменял, и оператор обязан учесть права пользователя. Исходя из этого, то давление, которое на сегодняшний день увеличилось по определению к операторам, определяется тем, чтобы операторы больше проводили ежедневные проверки по системе AML и KYC, потому что они должны знать своих клиентов, естественно. Здесь самый важный аспект то, что сам регулятор должен иметь желание работать с оператором, потому что совместная работа, она всегда дает больше пользы и больше положительного эффекта, чем то, чтобы душить оператора. Например, в Грузии как мы решили эту проблему? На сегодняшний день в Грузии у операторов есть доступ к единой базе реестра, где они могут перепроверять все данные клиента и не полагаться только на селфи. И этот закон мы приняли вместе с регулятором, так же как и операторы участвовали в этом законодательстве, также участвовали и сам регулятор. Кроме этого, у нас усовершенствовался закон по отмыванию денег в Грузии, и фактически это свело к минимуму все фишинговые операции, и игрок стал более защищенным. Поэтому важный аспект в том, чтобы регулятор полностью сотрудничал с операторами, и этих проблем фактически в дальнейшем не будет.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I have another question, which is, let's say, from the Serbian perspective, and I just want to have your experience on it, or actually your take on it. So here in Serbia, industry is perceived as a high risk for anti-money laundering, but this in practice basically affects all aspects of business. So we're talking about, opening account, but we're also talking about getting a bank guarantee. And it goes one step further. If you have an employee in your company, he's more or less not able to get a loan with the firm. So in terms of the shortcomings and everything, I'm really interested to hear your take, how is this, whether this happens in jurisdictions where you operate and how it goes. I mean, Renel, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, when we think about Balkans, we think Serbia, but also neighbor Bulgaria, which I'm also responsible. There, if you have an account with a bank and you want to top an account with a gambling, you have a problem, exactly like you said here. So somehow the industry is perceived as vices, which is bad because it's contribute a lot of taxation to the state budget. and the customer is looking for alternative in order to continue to play. In this way, social responsibility, as we spoke, it's part of offer. So we as a provider, we help them to set up certain limit together with the operator, which they make a credit check, and they can say, yes, you can, up to certain limit you can play. Then if you need more, you need to prove with other documents, not the selfie and ID, proof of address, proof of funds. So depends of the level. Also we, as a payment provider, we help regulator and operator to get more and more to know their customer. The customer is the one which he said, yes, he can provide data about his account and his funding. Yes, of course, all the data is kept for the regulator, of course, under the GDPR. So yes, this is a challenge because end customer doesn't want to disclose so much information about himself, but this is a process. So we have to know and we have to trust all each other. The benefit for end customer, it will not be a, let's say, phony website which can play and then the money is lost. No, we are here, we have an EMI license, we work together with the operator and with the regulator. You are safe, but we need to know you. So, yeah, these are the stuff. Thank you.
Jan, do you care to comment?
Yeah, it's become, as an operator, it's becoming more and more difficult to open bank accounts in jurisdictions for gambling. I mean, when Malta was grey-listed a couple of months ago by the FATF, a lot of banks actually terminated bank accounts for gambling companies, and it was very, very difficult to find alternatives, especially there was a short notice in termination these bank accounts. And for us as an operator, like even in Germany, where you would consider as being quite a robust market and the banking system is set up quite well, and us as a publicly traded company, it was still difficult to get bank accounts for gambling. And this actually affects us if we don't get a bank account, if we can't get guarantees in, we can't apply for licenses. If we don't have a license, we are not allowed to legally operate. And then you are a little bit in a catch-22 there, and makes it really difficult for us.
Thank you. George, would you like to comment on this as well?
В Грузии у нас насчет этого намного больше лояльно, потому что у нас очень хорошо развита система банков, и исходя из этого очень легко открыть счет. Но хотя клиент, который хочет играть, он должен пройти какие-то специальные процедуры, после чего он сможет лишь только получить доступ к своему аккаунту. Исходя из этого, у нас платежная система очень подточена под клиента, и клиент быстро проводит свои операции. Также все гэмблинговые компании очень тесно сотрудничают с банками, и эти все операции они проходят очень просто и легко.
Very interesting. Thank you. I'm skipping to the second round of questions regarding social responsibility. So, Renel, I would like to open with you. Can you comment on how payment solutions can contribute to responsible gaming? And root out existing issues that we now face.
Yeah, I can consider this as a challenge also for us because end customer. He wants to play more, but in the same time we have to drive a healthy growth. So in another country, I can give an example. In Romania, there is a conciliation association for addicted gamblers. So once they get banned, they get frustrated. They try to switch from one operator to the others, but because it's strict regulation, you pass the same registration. So once you are banned in one platform, usually it happens also to the others. So that means that client need help. So first of all, social responsibility, it's also, how should I say, a campaign which also operators start to support. They say, like drink responsibly, you should gamble responsibly. In our solution, as I said, we can establish limits and clients can see how much he play, so it's not something like a blind, just top up. And at the end you see, oh, I reached this amount. Maybe I have to stop. This is one of the solution. But of course, we have to put the client in the center, having in mind the regulation from the regulator and also the demanding of the operator. But playing white, pay us at a long time. So from our perspective, this is the way. Better to play moderate every day and you win on the long run. So we are targeting all the customer. I'm not looking only for specific customer, but we have to define carefully threshold, like a credit limits and so on. But as I said, together operator and following the instruction of the regulator. So this is a three-party agreement, if I can say so.
Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, but do you happen to have any kind of experience with jurisdictions where like there is a good system implemented? Because whenever I speak with the people from industry, they normally say, you know, there are some really good theoretical solutions, but in practice, you know, people change accounts, they do a lot of stuff. So, you know, how enforceable is that? I mean, just your take on it here.
I can say that AML, it's not nice to have, it's must to have. So this is a thing which is shaping the future of the gaming industry, even to, let's say that the country which are coping up with the new, because we spoke about Germany, which is a heavy regulated market. We speak about Spain, which is even more heavily regulated market. And these things are coming, so it's in the short time, like a shortcoming. This is the things which all the player in the industry has to implement it and to make it in a way to be much more easier and not to frustrate the customer. We call them frictional payment solution. So,
thank you. Jan, the next question is for you. You know, from your perspective, what operators can do to show that they are socially responsible?
I mean, there are many ways to show that you're socially responsible, but from our perspective, it was always educating staff, having the right tools in place to detect gamblers that are at harm. There are very good solutions out there at the moment who can help you to do that with artificial intelligence. And additionally, it's to make players aware that there is a certain kind of harm that can cause by gambling, and taking care of these gamblers. You know, be proactive as an operator towards these gamblers, approaching them, talking to them. We had now special training in our house to customer service agents, how they should talk to these kind of people. And how to approach them, and you know, using of limits. I know it's been in practice for a while, but even regulators, and probably George can tell about that as well, it's getting more and more important that players are protected from being at harm.
Thank you. George, the last question is you. So the question is, what should state and operators take into account about playing responsibly?
Несмотря на то, что эта проблема не масштабного характера, социальную ответственность на сегодняшний день никто не отменял. И это важный аспект при сотрудничестве между оператором и своим клиентом, игроком, естественно. Потому что очень трудно определить, так же как и в отмывании денег, клиент отмывает деньги, и это деньги конкретно идут от преступной деятельности, или же человек зависимый и делает, так сказать, неопределенные ставки, которые не сопоставляются никакой с логикой. Потому что это сложный процесс, это сложный психологический, психотропический процесс, который, так сказать, должен определить сам оператор. Как раз было правильно сказано, что обучение кадров – это один из важных аспектов, которые могут сопутствовать положительному аспекту. Второе, у нас в Грузии, например, на сегодняшний день есть реестр зависимых игроков, где человек может сам себя, так сказать, внести в реестр, и ему будет запрещено минимум 6 месяцев играть в игру. Также один из главных аспектов – это самоисключение, потому что если человек считает, что ему пора прекратить игру, он должен попасть в этот список. В Грузии, например, у всех операторов, особенно в онлайн, эта система очень хорошо уже развита, и она больше 5 лет работает, и каждый игрок может просто нажатием одной кнопки запретить себе играть, и он уже не может делать ставки. Поэтому обучение сотрудников, желание государства, желание операторов, желание платежных систем и желание самого общества искоренить эту проблему и работать конкретно на определенные проблемы. Нельзя глобально перечеркнуть все. Надо работать локально на конкретные проблемы. Это даст только положительный эффект. Исходя из этого положительного эффекта, у нас будет максимальное значение того, что не будет отмывания денег, не будут зависимых игроков, потому что ни одного оператора не устраивает иметь зависимых и не устраивает то, что он отмывает кому-то деньги. Особенно на сегодняшний день мы знаем, что работают очень крупные корпорации, и любой скандал для них это проблема. Для них это дополнительные штрафы, то, что получили мы на сегодняшний день в Англии по отношению МТ. Это была проблема для компании.
Thanks, George. You made a couple of very interesting points. So I just want to check with Renel and Jan. So one of the things that it was mentioned by George, that, you know, everybody needs to cooperate in the process. But I'm just curious to understand, you know, what do you think about self-exclusion procedure as itself? You know, in your experience on what you've seen on the market, you know, does it work or doesn't? Because depending who I'm talking from the market, I have really conflicted opinions on it. So
I think depends country by country. It's first time when I heard about these things in Georgia, and if it works, congratulations to all the players there and also to the regulator. Usually in the market, which I am aware, people are not self-excluded. They need to be helped up to a certain extent. I mean, if they reach a threshold which needs special attention. But this is defined, like I say, case by case, because what means money laundering, it might be irresponsible in other country, but so on and so forth. So as I said before, AML and KYC together are two important factors which brings players to the wide ground, which pays on the long run. So we think that this is the healthy growth of the future. Thank you.
Yeah, in terms of self-exclusion, I agree that it is a measure that can be used, but it has to be done right. In Germany, for example, we have a central self-exclusion database where we would have to report players. But it has been a manual process for a while. Now it's automated, but with the manual process, a lot of paperwork had to be done by players, and players are reluctant then to do that. It has to be a clean, smooth process for them and easy to use. But we haven't seen a lot of players really using it in our end. Although we are lottery brokerage, where it's not that evident than it is probably in a casino environment. But still, it's being used. And yes, it's one of the tools that you could potentially use.
thank you. So we have 2 minutes left. I will open the floor for a Q&A. Or if there are no questions, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.